Welcome to this episode of Pigs and Panzers. Today, as we promised, we are going to highlight some events surrounding the 160th anniversary of the Battle of Shiloh. We're here at Pittsburgh Landing. As you can see, this is where General Grant had landed his force. Here's the Tennessee River. They had crossed and come down the Tennessee River. An overland march that would have taken weeks, took just a matter of days. And this is where he posted his forces. This is where he set up his camp, waiting for Don Carlos Buell to come down from Nashville. And this was where he set up. This is Pittsburgh Landing. So you can see the tall bluff up here. That's now the National Cemetery. So all around here, this is where Grant had his camp. And that would extend out for a few miles, eventually where Albert Sidney Johnston's troops would attack on the morning of April 6th, 1862. When we're filming this is Monday, April 4th, 2022. So just 2 days shy of the 160th anniversary. But we figured this would be a great place to begin our video here commemorating the 160th anniversary of the Battle of Shiloh. And we'll interject some of the stuff we took from the reenactment. Didn't get as much footage at the reenactment as I wanted to, mostly because my phone died rather quickly. And the GoPro wasn't able to get as much footage as we had wanted because the boys in charge were sort of distracted by all the event and cannon firing. So we'll just try to cobble this video together as much as we can. But we look forward to this trip and the tour and being able to show you some things here at Shiloh, the National Military Park here at Shiloh in Tennessee. So what a wonderful day for us, and this is exactly what the foliage would have looked like in that early spring 1862. So you can imagine when you read the accounts, the trees are just starting to bud, just like they were back 160 years ago. So this is Pittsburgh Landing. This is where Grant positioned his army, and where he awaited Don Carlos Buell. And on the morning of April 6, 1862, this is where it all began. So we'll look forward, we'll take you down to where the first attack began, and we'll hopefully record more as we go out through our tour today. And thank you for watching and being with us during this special three-part series of the 160th anniversary of the Battle of Shiloh. So here we are. This is the position of the Union troops the Sunday night that they occupied here. We're just a little bit west of Pittsburgh Landing. You can see the visitor center there in the distance. That brick wall in the distance there, that's the National Cemetery. And you take the road down there to the Tennessee River. So this is the position of Grant's Army of the Tennessee that night, Sunday night. They're all siege guns. Yeah, this is what really drew our attention, is these siege guns here. This is dated 1837, and we've never seen anything like that before. I have no idea, man. Siege guns, 2nd Regiment Artillery, unassigned, Army of the Tennessee. So this artillery, I guess, took up this place here. This battery of siege gun was the nucleus around which was rallied the line that successfully resisted the attack of Sunday evening, April 6th. There were no casualties. So I guess this siege artillery anchored this line during the night of April 6th, 1862, for when Johnston's last attacks, or Beauregard's last attacks, because Johnston would have been killed by then. And so yeah, this is a interesting pieces of artillery. That one looks like it's got an 1828 date on it. So you can see the artillery along here, positions of Union infantry along this spot where the last Confederate attacks of the first day's fighting took place. So we'll pick you up at the next stop. A quick recap, we actually Wikipedia'd it, thank God for Google, but these are 24-pound siege guns. You know, this one's 1837, that one was 1824, right? 1824? 1828. 1828, this one's 1837, 1828. So these are 24-pound siege guns, and then that is an 8-inch howitzer. So that's what the 2nd Illinois Regiment of Artillery Battery B that was stationed here, that's what they were equipped with. So, and again, this is the original Corinth Pittsburgh Landing Road. So this would have been the road, you know, that Johnson was looking at to capture and cut Grant's access to Pittsburgh Landing off and sort of push them away from his line of retreat. That's not kind of how it worked out, but all right, so we'll take you in our next tour stop. So this is the first camp marker we came across. As you can see, we're still up here on the ridge, I guess you want to call it, whatever this higher ground is. The Corinth Pittsburgh Landing Road is right here. You can see the battery of 6-pounders right there in the distance that had the only earthwork thrown up the night of April 6th that was there. Some James rifles over there, some more James rifles over here. And this is the camp of Richardson's battery and first position in line of battle. April 6th it was, so this is where their camp was, and then they took off a mile southwest, which is, that's south, so it would be towards this direction. A mile that way would be where the Hornet's nest is, and that's where this battery was in position. And as we walk through these woods here, Nate's seen a marker. Now, the way that these markers work at Shiloh is the square cut ones that have like the cut corners, that is the first day's action. The oval represents the action on the second day, because unlike places like Gettysburg, where you had sort of the battle in 3 parts in different parts of the field, the first day's fighting and the second day's fighting was over the same ground, so can get kind of confusing. So yep. Bourke's Sunday night at advanced line battle Monday morning. So, and the different colors is the yellow represents Buell's Army of the Ohio, blue represents Grant's Army of the Tennessee, and red represents the Confederate Army of the Mississippi. So there's 3 armies engaged here. Now again, these are early war armies, so they're, you know, 40,000-ish is about how big each one of these units would be. Johnson had about 44,000. Buell had about 35,000. I think Grant was somewhere in the 40s as well. So these represent positions Buell's troops took that night, April 6th at 7 p.m. They came and bivouacked in this area, and then they would march on into line of battle in the counterattack that happened on April 7th, that Monday morning. So it's just, I'm telling you, you know, Shiloh, this is our first trip here, and it's peaceful, it's quiet. You know,
whether they'd be fighting it.
This is the weather. I mean, it's a little bit cool. We're in little light jackets, but I mean, you look at the trees, the ground. I mean, it's just a gorgeous park. So I definitely recommend, if you've not been here, to come out here and see it. So we're going to continue our tour and see where the map takes us. So this is the hornet's nest. I mean, look at the thicket. I mean, this oak grove, oak thicket.
Hard to be penetrated under fire.
It would hard to move. Yeah, hard to move anybody through this. It'd be, like Nate said, it'd be an easy place to defend. It'd be a hard place to attack. So we've already spotted one monument to an Illinois regiment. Yep. Yep, this is where Prentice surrendered here in the midst of the hornet's nest. So we're going to continue walking down this trail. I mean, did you get a sense? Yeah, this is kind of, this is it. This is the center of the Union line.
Super nice to defend. I bet it was pretty much just like this, all down trees.
Yep. Yeah, some of these trees look young, but I guarantee you it was around the same, yeah. We're going to keep walking on this trail.
They had artillery in here too, so it'd be pretty easy.
I mean, look, it slopes up. That ground up there slopes.
That'd be perfect to put infantry up here and whatnot.
Yep.
Confederate infantry just comes up and drives and start blasting.
It took 8 hours to get through this. 8 hours of piecemeal assaults by the Confederates to finally capture Prentice's men. All right, so this is more of the Hornet's nest, still that oak thicket. You can see some guns up there in the distance. And this is, I believe, where William Wallace, not Lew Wallace of Ben-Hur fame, but William Wallace, I believe this is where he was found, was mortally wounded here. Yep, so this is the spot where William Wallace was mortally wounded, and then, you know, the accounts say that his troops pulled him off the road or off where he was laying and put him by a tree. That way he wouldn't get trampled when the Union troops retreated. And he would be found the next day as Union troops counterattacked. He wasn't dead. I mean, they thought he was dead. He was on his horse. He looked up. He had a hole through his back of his head and came through his left eye. And you know, he had stood up to get a better vantage point in his saddle, and then he took that bullet. And you know, he'd be found the next day, April 7th. He'd be carried back to the hospital, and his wife was actually here. Had come there that night, and she actually cared for him in the hospital. He wound up dying in her arms a few days later. So one of the tragic stories of the Battle of Shiloh. And this is where William Wallace was mortally wounded, and you know, was here with his men. And this is still the Hornet's nest. It's still that oak thicket. And there's guns up there. I'm sure we'll take if we follow the tour route around, we'll see more, but we just want to stop and get a picture here real quick. So we'll see you in a few. So this is Duncan's farm, and on the morning of the first day after Prentiss had retreated from his camps, he had received reinforcements from William Wallace's division and Hallowed, and they had assembled along this half-mile sector. They had about 6,200 men online, with another about 3,000 in reserve after Prentiss and them reorganized. And so this is Duncan's farm, where we are now, and walking down the Union line where they had organized the resistance after rallying Prentiss's troops. And you know, I mean, it's just amazing to think of Johnston's forces coming from that wood on the other side through this field and attacking the Union troops here. This is that oak thicket. This is what would be known as the Hornet's Nest, and maybe that name really is more further that way, where we had just come from. But definitely this is still part of that center part of the line that the Union held on that first day. And there was more fighting here the second day, when Darncollis Buell's army counterattacked again through this area and drove the Confederates back, reversing all that they had accomplished on the first day. And so yeah, this is the scene of a lot of fighting, is over this farm field right here in front of us. So we'll get you back in a few as we continue to walk down this sector of the Union line.
Mine just came up on the trade plate for the guys that got this. I think it's the same.
All right, so we're up here at the top, and you know, this is where we just walked from. And you know, this, I guess, according to this Iowa monument from the 7th Iowa, this is the sunken road that is often referred to. That was a part of the center of the Union line as they fell back and retreated, and elements of Prentiss's division rallied alongside Hallowed and Wallace, and then they formed and defended this area, this sunken road. And this is the oak thicket behind us, which would be called by the Confederate veterans the Hornet's Nest, again, as we had just come from there. And I may get some of the names wrong. You know, I'm trying to interpret the map as well, so forgive me for that if this is imperfect, but just trying to give you an overview of the action here at Shiloh. But yeah, so this I guess is the sunken road, and you know, the 7th Iowa was posted right here, and the Confederates would be attacking from that wood line over there after they had routed the Union from their camps. The camps would be further to the southwest out that way, and after they had routed the Union troops, had come back this way through this field, and then would be rallied along this sunken sunken road. So we'll keep you updated as we move along. All right, we're here at Ruggle's Battery. So this is where the Confederates gathered all the artillery they could when they could not drive the Federal forces out of the sunken road, out of the Hornet's Nest, the oak thicket. So they gathered up every piece of artillery they could get. They had about 53 cannons, I think, along a half-mile stretch, and then just pounded the center of the Union line, which would be the sunken road, the Hornet's Nest. So that's where we are. So this is the Ruggle's Battery, and then you can see Duncan Field in front of us, and then the oak thicket, the second road down there, and then the oak thicket, which would be the Hornet's Nest just beyond. So this is Ruggle's Battery.
Why'd you quit playing?
So again, we're here at Ruggle's Battery. So we noticed a lot of interesting pieces of artillery that they've gathered here that we have not seen before. And this is Blakely's. This is a Blakely 1861 Liverpool. So this is an English artillery piece that would have been brought in for the Confederacy. And if you watch our any videos online from the reenactment last week or this past weekend, excuse me, we reenacted on Saturday the Hornet's Nest attack, and we did a massive cannonade, and that would represent when we pulled back behind the artillery, and then all of our artillery pieces just pounded for a good 10 minutes or so. I think that's a field gun howitzer, maybe. I don't know. It's not rifled, so then it's probably a howitzer. But so we reenacted this part of the battle, and you can see that artillery goes half a mile or so. They said there was these 53 cannons, 56 cannons, however many cannons that they could assemble. They just pulled them from everywhere, piece of the field, scattered parts of batteries, and they put them all here, and then just pounded that thicket in the distance. Man, can imagine what that would be like. We reenacted it, and it was tremendous hearing all those guns go off at one time. So, yep. So this is Ruggle's Battery, and this is, you know, the morning of the first day, a little towards the afternoon, April 6th, as they pounded the Hornet's Nest there in the distance.
The horse just said.
This is Shiloh Church, and where the battle gets its name. This was Sherman's headquarters, and then Beauregard's headquarters for a good part of the second day. And this is the reproduction of the building that stood here. And yeah, this is Shiloh Church. And outside, of course, you can see the modern church. And yeah, so this is Shiloh Church. We'll get some more shots once we get outside.
you worked on all that.
So as we're walking down this trail, we're following the route that Peabody's 250 pre-dawn patrol took. And as they come up into this field, they will come under fire from Confederate pickets attached to Hardee's corps in this field just yonder. So this is where the battle commenced at 4:55 Sunday, April 6th. Yeah, 4:55 a.m. Sunday, April 6th, 1862. So we're just 2 days shy of the 160th anniversary of where this battle commenced. So those were, I guess, according to this marker here, they're the 25th Missouri. Companies B, E, and H of this regiment belonging to reconnoitering party were engaged here from 4:55 a.m. to 6 a.m. April 6, 1862, and then fell back to northwest corner of Say Field. So this is Fraley Field. This is where the Battle of Shiloh's opening shots occurred. Almost 160 years ago to the day. This field began the opening battle of what was then the bloodiest battle ever known in American history to that point. Of course, the conflicts in the East, you know, come September with Antietam, and December at Fredericksburg,
Then Petersburg.
and then, you know, Petersburg, Gettysburg. Casualties will be even higher then, but at this point of the war, this is the opening shots of the bloodiest war in American history. In fact, if you took all the casualties from all the previous wars fought, from the Revolution, War of 1812, Mexican-American War, they did not equal combined the casualties that would happen here at Shiloh, and it began here. So as you can see, the battle begins. So this is Fraley Field, the opening shots of the Battle of Shiloh. So we are along this little stream, this creek that runs through Fraley Field here at Shiloh. We just come from the opening shot marker, which is right there and yonder. We're walking through this path over to the Confederate lines. I mean, just the peacefulness of this stream, as you can hear. It's a quiet afternoon. You can imagine 160 years ago, 4:55 in the morning, Union troops coming, the clank of muskets and tin cups as they spread out into a skirmish line, starting from these woods over here, which would be their left flank, through that field
And
there,
just
that
here,
little here.
shots.
And then all of a sudden, Confederate pickets in that wood line over there begin to exchange fire for about little over an hour. The piece of this field is interrupted, and again, the rest of the day would prove to be a rather bloody affair.
And on a Sunday.
And on a Sunday, yep. Which Leonidas Polk would have had a problem with. But Albert Sidney Johnston's plans were thwarted. They couldn't attack when they wanted to because the road condition to march up here took them longer than they had expected, and had to hit Grant before Buell joined, so he couldn't delay it regardless of what Bishop Polk had recommended. So we're coming up this rise here. So just beyond that picket line of about 280, 300 men, or 9,000 men. As the opening cinematic from our first part of this video said, a monster lurking amongst the Tennessee timber. Well, we are on the ground where that monster made contact with Peabody's patrol. So here we are on the other side of the field, Woods Field. You see, well, this is Fraley or Fraley's field. I think it's Fraley's field. Right, that one's Woods Field behind us. I wonder if it's Woods Field, if that was the name of it then, or if it was called that because of Woods Brigade, Hardee's Corps was here. And this is where the 3rd Mississippi Infantry Battalion was on picket duty when they were attacked at 4:55. Peabody's troops were coming out of that tree line there where we just walked from, and they were on picket duty here amongst these woods, and the rest of the division was behind them. And yeah, this is where it began. It's just a beautiful, beautiful, peaceful, quiet place. Not realizing that, the shots start here would start bloodiest battle in American history to that date. So yeah, this is Fraley's field where the shots began. All right, we're here at Peabody's camp. This is the first camp that was overrun by so far victorious Confederate forces as they drove in Benjamin Prentice's division. And so the reconnoitering road is right down there. This is the general direction. Straight ahead is where the Fraley's field was. Fraley, however you pronounce that name. I had it worked out, and now I've done forgot it. But where the first shots were, then the Confederate forces come through this way, and this is Peabody's camp where they overran about 9 o'clock in the morning on April the 6th. And as it says, they looted the tents, they looked for food and supplies, seized private possessions, and this is where General Johnston, I believe, came up and grabbed his tin cup and said, "This is my part of the spoils," and tried to get his men back into some sort of fighting shape. So this, of course, is Johnston's battle plan. He wanted to sweep Grant up and cut him off from the Tennessee River, and so it's kind of where we are right now. So this is Peabody's camp, working our way up from Fraley's field. I think it's Fraley's field, up here into Peabody's camp. So we're at the top of what is the sunken road. We were right down here before. We had come around, and this is the official Hornet's Nest sign. So that's the thicket, that's the Hornet's Nest. Prentice's surrender monument marker is around that direction, probably about half a mile or maybe around there into that thicket. But this whole area is the Hornet's Nest. And that's the sunken road we were walking down earlier. So yeah, I mean, imagine attacking through something like that. I don't think how you can maintain any type of communication or order, or even defending how that would go down. That's the Hornet's Nest. All right, so we are here. We're to the, I guess it'd be west or east of the wheat field, and we're looking at the George Manse. I believe that's the name of that cabin in the distance. But what stopped me is this marker here, Stevens Brigade, which is Polk's Corps, Cheatham's division, but it's the 1st Tennessee. And if you've ever read or listened to Company H, Sam Watkins' Memoirs of the War, he was in the 1st Tennessee. So you're looking at ground that that he would have been on. So when he talks about the Battle of Shiloh, this is kind of where he is. I guess, about 2:30 p.m. April 6th, 1862, the 1st and 9th Tennessee of this brigade, assisted by the 19th Tennessee and supported by the 6th Tennessee and 7th Kentucky, charged across this field and drove back the Union line from its north side. So this was ground that Sam Watkins was engaged during the Battle of Shiloh. So he was here on this ground. So when you read that Memoirs of the Battle of Shiloh, this is what he was seeing at that moment when he recorded those events, some of those events of his recollection of the Battle of Shiloh. His retreat from Shiloh is kind of humorous when he, finds that donkey. So I won't spoil it for you, but you need to listen to it and read it, because it's a great account of a soldier's experience during the Civil War, especially the Western theater of the Civil War. So we'll pick up. The next stop we're going to stop at is General Johnston's marker where he was killed, and after that we'll probably have to wrap up our tour of the Battle of Shiloh, because we need to head back to North Carolina. So hope you've enjoyed these few videos. If I don't get to say much around there due to other folks being there, I don't want to interrupt their time here at Shiloh. So hope you've enjoyed this stop and this viewing of the ground and this part of our video. Hopefully we'll have some more reenactment footage from guys in my unit I can splice in and show you some of what we did to commemorate this battle. Again, our third part of the battle that will air next after this one will be our recreation of portions of this battle on the tabletop using the black powder Glory Hallelujah rule set from Warlord Games. We're kind of leaning on doing the Sunken Road, Hornet's Nest area, so we're going to work up something along those lines and go from there. So we hope you have enjoyed this video. You'll see us next at Albert Johnston's spot where he was killed on the Confederate right, the Union left, and after that we'll probably bid you an adieu for this episode. So we'll catch you back there in a minute, and we'll see you next time.
Like the Union really took any casualties.
They don't want you.
It's probably really good to lie against all these ticks. Why did the biggest brigades have to galvanize?
You got wood?
What's your name?
Ryan.
So we're here at the place where Albert Sidney Johnston died. He was wounded up there, and we'll show a picture of that monument that shows where he was wounded. But they carried him down this ravine about 50 yards from the spot where he was hit. And this is the spot where Albert Sidney Johnston, the highest ranking officer in the Civil War to die in combat, and from what I read today, the highest ranking American officer to die in any war in combat. So this is where General Johnston died, and in my opinion, probably where the fate of the South in the West definitely died with him. But yeah, so this is the spot, and you know, this is, we'll kind of walk up that trail. We'll show you the marker of where he was wounded. You can see, you know, as we go up this trail in the ravine, you can, you know, sort of picture that scene in your mind where Grisham Harris and others with him, and you know, that cannon barrel right up the top there, that's where he was wounded. And like I said, they brought him down here, and that is where he died. But this concludes our walking tour, our tour of the Battle of Shiloh, and the second part in our series of remembering the Battle of Shiloh on this 160th anniversary coming up in 2 days. And thank you so much for watching with us and staying with us, and hopefully you enjoyed this video, and we'll look forward to seeing you in part 3 as we recreate part of this battle on the tabletop, with Nate commanding the Confederate forces, and I'll be taking over the Union command and seeing if we can't change history a little bit, maybe cause the Confederates to retreat a little bit sooner. And thank you so much for watching. May God bless you, and may you have a wonderful rest of your day. So this is the monument where General Johnston was wounded, shot in the leg. They weren't able to realize that he had been shot. I think he had lost some feeling in that leg from earlier injuries, and suffered, I believe, during the Mexican-American War. But he didn't realize he'd been shot, severed the artery behind his knee on his left leg. And it wasn't until they realized that color was draining out of him, and they let him down, as we'll take you to look and see, where he had about 50 yards into a ravine down there. And that's eventually where they pulled his boot off, and it was filled, I guess, with blood, and where General Johnston had died. And the sad thing is, he had a tourniquet in his pocket, I believe, just in the case of an event, but he hadn't even realized he'd been hit, and the severity of that wound, until literally it was too late. So this is where General Johnston was wounded, and where they took him down was just down that ravine. We'll take you there in just a few moments.
Mama! No!
Like every single rebel's day. Charging!
Give him hell!
We should have done that 20 minutes ago.
Never would have. We still got guns up! North!
That guy surrendered. They killed mounted cavalry. Why isn't our gun shooting? It's because like half his force was double cannon. Why are you still? Oh, there's the.
Yeah, we still have.
Yeah, we have a whole. There was 2 whole companies on the hill. can tell. I recognize that unit. Those are the people.
Quit throwing shit at me! Ah!